Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. This is the first ever podcast brought to you by Draft Thunder. Come to us for all your daily fantasy needs.
Welcome to the Draft Thunder podcast. I'm Andrew.
No, I'm Ben.
And today we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame game coming up this Thursday. So we have two teams playing, the Bears and the Ravens. What do you think about the Ravens this season, Ben?
Super Bowl, obviously.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson
Well,
gonna take over the team.
We do have a ticket.
We do. You know, we're a little biased. It's fine.
Yeah, we're Ravens fans. We're from Baltimore.
So we got the inside track.
Yes, we do. So we're going to talk about the types of contests that you can play for this Thursday game. And we're going to start off about the Fanduel contest. So on Fanduel, you can choose up to 5 players and have one MVP player. So that MVP will be a player that gives you 1.5 times the score of the regular players. Each player is the same cost at $12,000, and you can basically choose whoever you want.
Draftkings is very similar, except instead of an MVP, it's called a captain. Same thing, you get 1.5 times points, but they are a little higher priced than the rest of the field. And there's even a little discrepancy in the prices in the lower price players between $7,200 and $7,600. Your captain's going to cost about $11,400. And instead of the 5-player pool on FanDuel, it's a 6-player pool on DraftKings. So that's why the prices are a little depressed.
Okay, so we are going to move into the Hall of Fame game from last year and try and work out what's going to be like this year. So last year we had the Cardinals against the Cowboys. So what did you see from that game, Ben?
So it was a hot start, and Blaine Gabbert came out on fire, which sounds ridiculous. But he did. He came out to a quick 15 points. And then Kellen Moore for the Cowboys eventually came up, kind of matched him. And after the first quarter, it kind of went dead until the last game-winning touchdown by the Cowboys, which finished at 20-18 as the final score. So quick start with the better tier players playing, and as the game moves on, since it's an extra preseason game and kind of a glorified scrimmage, you're going to see the lower tier players, or the guys that probably aren't going to make the roster, come in, and that's when you're going to see the scoring start to taper off.
Yeah, something we did not see is we did not see any Dak Prescott. We did not see any Carson Palmer. So basically, we're going to see those lower tier players playing for those roster positions. One notable player that we saw from that game would be Rod Smith. If you remember watching the game at all, he had 18 carries, and he was technically their third-string running back between Alfred Morris and Zeke, and then even behind Darren McFadden at the point. You also did not see any top receivers in this game. There was no Dez Bryant, no Terrence Williams, and no Larry Fitzgerald. Instead, the top receivers were Bryce Butler and Rico Gathers. Rico Gathers went on to have a great preseason, and that sadly did not lead to him having a good regular season.
So now we're going to move into what we think about the players from this game coming up tomorrow. Being from Baltimore and seeing camp and seeing different highlights and following the Twitter feeds as camp goes along, we feel like we have a sort of the inside edge and have been following the beat writers and seeing who's been doing well, who's been doing not so well, and maybe kind of the way that the Ravens are going to flow in this game. So starting off with the quarterbacks, we believe that Robert Griffin III is actually going to start the game. We're not going to see any Ravens starters. No Flacco, no Alex Collins at running back, as he's already solidified himself. Michael Crabtree, John Brown, Willie Snead will probably all not see the field as well. So we think Robert Griffin III is going to start the game, followed by Lamar Jackson and Josh Woodrum. Everyone's excited to see Lamar Jackson, traded up in the first round to get him. But it's our belief that we're going to take it slow with him, and he might only see a quarter of action. Same thing with Robert Griffin III. He's going to start the game, maybe just play the first quarter, and then we think Josh Woodrum is going to take over for the whole second half, considering the fact that it's an extra preseason game. We really don't want to get our players hurt, and Woodrum is on the outside of the roster looking in.
So what do you think about the running backs and the wide receivers in this game?
So Kenneth Dixon has been missing practice, so I can't imagine we're going to see him either. So that just leaves Javorius Allen or Buck Allen, whichever you prefer, Gus Edwards, the rookie running back, DeLance Turner, and Mark Thompson. So 4 running backs for the whole game. Buck Allen is a guy that's been on the Ravens for a couple years now. They know what he's got, so I don't think that they're going to try to use him too much. They want to see what these other guys got as a fight for a roster spot. I think the best running back option here is Gus Edwards. I think he's actually going to get a lot of carries and maybe even some passes out of the backfield as they work through the game. And he's going to be one of the guys that sees the field the most, as he's a rookie, and he's going to be one that's really motivated to make this roster, as there's already 3 running backs slated ahead of him. So it's going to be tough for him, but he really wants to make a roster. So I think he's going to be one of the guys that we're really going to look at to use in this game.
Now, I know there's a lot of receivers that are out there for us. I know one in particular that you've seen is Tim White. What can you say about him?
Tim White had a really good camp last year, and then got derailed due to injury after the first preseason game. He caught a touchdown in the first preseason game from Woodrum, so you can kind of see a connection building there. And then this camp, he's come back strong, same type of thing. So without the injury, we're looking to see him fight for a roster spot. The Ravens went out and got 3 wide receivers. There's not much room there, so and they drafted 2 of them. So Tim White is going to want to make a good impression. Chris Moore is another guy that's had a really strong camp. However, he's probably already slated to be on the team due to his special team work and the fact that he's been on the team for several years and has been somewhat of an impact player. One of the receivers we won't see is Quincy Adeboyejo. He's on IR or PUP list right now. And then the other 2 receivers are the rookies, Jordan Lastly and Jaleel Scott. Both have had somewhat up and down camps, but Lastly's been the guy that's sticking out, and he's actually factoring into the return game as well, so we might see him a little bit more. So I think the 2 receivers from the Ravens that you might look at are Tim White and Jordan Lastly.
Needless to say, we are very excited to see the Ravens in this game Thursday. So moving on to the Bears, we will not be seeing any of quarterback Mitch Trubisky, but we will be seeing a lot of Chase Daniel and Tyler Bray. Now, Chase Daniel and Tyler Bray will be split in time, as both probably getting a half of football in this game. Now, we expect more out of Chase Daniel because he's been a starter, he has more experience, and he'll actually see probably better players on the field. That could also go against the defense, but I think it gives him a leg up on Tyler Bray when you're looking to roster a quarterback. Now, along with that, there's also running backs to look at in this part of the game. Taquan Mizell is the 3rd-string running back who will probably see a lot of the field. Now, there's also Tariq Cohen to consider, but since he almost basically solidified his spot as a running back last year and kick returner, he will probably not see as much as he got in the preseason last year. Also have to look at Benny Cunningham, who could also be a huge factor. He's someone who is known to take kick returns, and he could break out for one in this. Trey Burton will not be playing in this game, and we don't know what to expect out of the 2 other Chicago tight ends. Now, looking on to receiver, none of the main receivers are going to start, obviously. Allen Robinson is not going to play, and neither is Taylor Gabriel. But we are looking at Kevin White, who could be something interesting. Ben, do you have anything to say about Kevin White?
Yeah, so even though he's a 4th-year player in the league and has had a very up-and-down career, or pretty much down career, as he's always been injured and never really seen the field for the Bears, it's our belief that they're going to use him in this game a lot, and he's going to be really motivated to do well. Now that he's a 4th-year player, he's kind of on the outside looking in. Again, the Bears are another team that went out and got a lot of wide receiver help. So Kevin White is one of those guys. He was highly drafted, highly sought after, and so you know the talent is there. It's just a matter if he can put it all together and stay healthy. He's healthy right now. I think that they're going to use him in this game. It's one of those situations where we're not exactly 100% sure, but we feel pretty good about the play, and it might be one of those guys that goes lower owned because people think he's a bigger name player.
It's definitely something to look at. And also Benny Fowler, he used to be a receiver for Denver. You know, he takes kick returns. He could be something huge, also known as the X Factor. Something interesting to consider on this slate is the kicker. So DraftKings added to the showdown the kicker position, and Fanduel always has the kicker. So in this slate, I'm looking to target Cody Parkey, and Justin Tucker is a little questionable for me because I know that in Baltimore we have a backup kicker who is also making a lot of field goals. This is like Will Lutz a few years ago when he was our backup kicker. We played him in the preseason a lot, but then he also went on to play for the Saints. So this might be another scenario, so we'll probably want to try to stay away from Justin Tucker this game. Now, talking about the weather, we're going to bring in our weather boy to let us know what's going on.
Well, thanks, guys. It's looking like we're going to have scattered thunderstorms in Canton, Ohio throughout the day, but it should clear up by game time. Boo. Fuck you.
Thanks, weather boy. Okay. So we've mentioned all these players, but who are we going to actually roster? So, Ben, you talk about who you're going to roster this week.
So I'm pretty locked in on my captain I'm going to be playing the DraftKings slate. So my captain, I'm pretty locked in on using Chase Daniel. I think using a quarterback there, they're typically going to see the most points. He's one of the guys we're at least projecting for at least a half of football, and he's better than Tyler Bray in our opinion. So I'm going to lock him into my captain spot. The rest of the team I'm going to go with Tim White, Kevin White, and then I'm going to pick 2 of the 3 between Gus Edwards, Taquan Mizell, and Benny Cunningham. That's just going to depend on if there's any late reports we get leading up to the game tomorrow, anything that will tip us off in it one way or another, whether who's going to play more, who's going to play less. So between those three I'm going to pick two of, and then for my last spot, I'm going to go with Josh Woodrum. I'm going him over Lamar Jackson just because I think he'll play a little bit more. He might see softer defenses. If you're looking for something to root for, looking for some fun, go ahead with Lamar Jackson. He's just not our best play in this position. We think he might be a little overweight on the ownership, and I think Woodrum might be a little underweight, so I think we might be able to find key impact there.
Yeah, I like that roster a lot. I'm also choosing Chase Young for my MVP. I think that the upside is just huge for him and that he'll get a lot of playing time and be able to score a lot of touchdowns. Josh Woodrum would also be another player I'll play. He could also fit into the MVP spot if you want to go for that risk, but Chase Daniel is definitely safer. Now, Cody Parkey is a great play for a double-up because he will get you those points. They're going to score something against us, whether it's a few field goals, even a few touchdowns. And with the preseason games, it can be unpredictable. So we know that his floor is higher, and that can be used in double-ups. Benny Cunningham is another player that I'm looking at. That's more for tournament play. Same with Mizell, and then Tim White's locked into all my lineups. So who are some players that we should avoid due to injury this week?
So obviously, most of the starters, I'm just going to go with all the starters. Even if some of them play, they're not going to see significant time here. And as I mentioned before, the Ravens that aren't practicing on the offensive side of the ball with Kenneth Dixon and Quincy Adeboyejo, and then also Mark Andrews. So with them not practicing the last couple of days, can't imagine we're going to see them on the field very much, if at all, in any capacity.
Yeah, and then on the Bears side, we're looking at Josh Bellamy, who will not be playing. He was a huge factor last year, but we won't be seeing him in this game this week. So that's all that we have here at Draft Thunder. I'm Andrew.
I'm Ben.
And thank you for joining us.
If you found this podcast helpful at all, make sure to let us know. Send us your winning lineups. If you guys liked us, make sure to follow us on Twitter at DraftThunderDFS. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next week.